There's never a quiet day around Ibrox, and the last 24 hours have only confirmed that. Former Rangers winger Neil McCann has finally broken his silence on the persistent speculation linking him to a return to the club, and what he revealed has stirred up plenty of emotion among the fan base. For a while now, there's been talk that McCann could have been part of the coaching staff if Kevin Muscat had taken charge, and although that move never materialized, McCann's comments have added more fuel to the emotional fire that ties him so deeply to Rangers. In his own words, it's clear, this club still means the world to him. Speaking on a podcast, McCann made it clear that no one from Rangers had formally contacted him about any coaching position after the sacking of Russell Martin. That didn't stop fans from speculating, especially when Muscat's name started circulating as a frontrunner for the manager's role. Given their past connection as teammates and Muscat's reported admiration for McCann's coaching, it was easy to imagine the pair joining forces again at Ibrox. But according to McCann himself, the rumors went a bit too far. Yes, conversations between him and Muscat had happened in the past, the kind of what-if chats old teammates tend to have, but nothing was concrete. McCann admitted he would have jumped at the chance to return, calling his previous spell at Rangers brilliant, and saying he loved being on the sidelines again. But despite the buzz, the call never came. What's striking about McCann's reflection isn't just what was said, it's how deeply you can feel his emotional connection to Rangers. There's no bitterness, no disappointment, just honesty. That sense of loyalty and pride in having worn the badge, even just as a coach, still runs strong in him. And maybe that's what supporters are holding on to. Because when someone speaks about Rangers with that much affection, it resonates in a way that goes far beyond tactics and transfers. But McCann's story is just one layer of the wider picture unfolding at Ibrox right now. The club has been through a whirlwind of change in recent months, and the appointment of Danny Roll as the new head coach marked a bold shift in direction. After a dismal start under Martin, who brought plenty of promise but little in terms of tangible results, Roll was handed the task of steadying a ship that looked dangerously close to sinking. And after a nervy yet vital 3-1 win over Kilmarnock, there's finally something to build on. It wasn't a perfect performance by any means, far from it. Rangers conceded a sloppy equalizer before halftime, and goalkeeper Jack Butland was largely at fault for the error that allowed George Stanger to level the score. For a brief moment, all the old doubts crept back in. Butland has actually been one of the more consistent performers this season, so the mistake came as a surprise. Roll, however, was quick to defend his number one. He didn't just call Butland a great keeper. He called him a leader, someone who commands respect in the dressing room and sets standards. According to Roll, the way the group responded after the game was just as important as the result itself. The conversations were open, the message was clear, and most importantly, the players reacted. That reaction could be seen in the second-half performance. Danilo, who got the nod to start after limited involvement in recent weeks, made his mark early. And when Yusuf Chumali came off the bench to score his first goal for the club, it felt like another small but meaningful breakthrough. Roll described it perfectly. A good step, a small step, not more. That line speaks volumes. He's not promising miracles. He's not selling dreams. He's laying foundations, and the focus right now is on building confidence in a squad that's clearly been lacking it. That's why Sunday's win, even if it didn't solve all of Rangers' issues, carried real significance. It wasn't just about the 3 points. It was about what those points represented. For the first time in a while, there was structure. There was clarity. The pressing was coordinated. The players looked like they knew what they were supposed to do, and more importantly, they looked like they wanted to do it. There's been far too much drift at Rangers over the past few seasons. Tactical confusion, inconsistent selections, managers with grand ideas that never took root. Roll may only be 35 years old, but he's already showing signs of being someone who can cut through the noise and get to the heart of what this team really needs: direction, belief, and a willingness to work. One player who absolutely embodied that spirit against Kilmarnock was Theo Isgard. The Norwegian midfielder, signed from Luton Town in the summer, didn't score or assist, but anyone who watched him closely saw a performance full of intelligence, grit, and purpose. His movement off the ball, his calmness under pressure, his ability to link the play and bring others into the game. It was all there, and it didn't go unnoticed. Scotland assistant coach Stephen Naismith was full of praise, calling Isgard the best player on the pitch. That's a big claim in a match that featured multiple goals and some eye-catching moments. But Naismith backed it up with real analysis. He highlighted Isgard's willingness to receive the ball under pressure, his strength in tight areas, and his clever timing of forward runs. The stats backed it up too. According to SofaScore, Isgard completed all of his attempted dribbles, made 34 accurate passes from 40 attempts, and had 50 touches before being subbed off with 10 minutes to go. It was the kind of quietly effective performance that often goes under the radar. But for a Rangers side in transition, having someone like him step up can make a huge difference. That idea of transition has hung over Ibrox for too long now. Since Steven Gerrard's departure, the club has lurched from one identity crisis to another. Giovanni van Bronckhorst brought some unforgettable European nights, but couldn't crack it domestically. Michael Beale talked a big game, but fell short when it mattered most. Philippe Clement promised structure, but lost the dressing room. And then came Russell Martin, a bold appointment who tried to reinvent everything far too quickly. His possession-heavy approach never clicked, and within weeks, it became clear that the players weren't buying into it. The results reflected that, and the fallout was swift. So when Roll arrived, expectations were cautious at best. A 3-0 defeat to SK Brann in the Europa League did nothing to ease concerns. But Sunday's win, and more importantly, the manner of it, offered something different. It wasn't spectacular. It wasn't vintage. But it was competent, controlled, and cohesive. And for Rangers fans, that alone is reason enough to feel just a flicker of hope again. The truth is, rebuilding Rangers isn't going to be a quick fix. It's going to take more than one win, more than one good performance, to undo years of instability. But there are moments like Isgard's performance, Chumley's first goal, or even Roll's calm presence on the touchline, that hint at something slowly shifting. Something maybe, just maybe, taking shape. While the focus has understandably been on the new boss and the glimmers of progress on the pitch, there's still an undercurrent of anxiety among supporters, and that's impossible to ignore. Because one decent showing against Kilmarnock doesn't erase the bruises left by what came before it. The instability, the false promises, the constant reshuffling, it's worn down the trust. And while Danny Roll appears to be saying the right things and bringing a bit of tactical shape, the demands at Ibrox are relentless. One win is never enough. There has to be consistency, there has to be fire, and above all, there has to be fight. The weight of expectation is different at Rangers. Managers are not judged over months, they're judged game to game. Players don't get time to settle, they're expected to deliver from the first minute. That pressure has crushed many before. The atmosphere can go from hopeful to hostile in 90 minutes. And Roll will know that the good feeling generated by the win over Kilmarnock can vanish just as quickly if standards slip. This isn't just about lifting spirits after a rough patch. It's about building a foundation strong enough to weather the next storm. And it's coming. The fixtures ahead will test not only the squad's ability, but also the mentality inside that dressing room. Jack Butland, for instance, will be feeling the heat. His mistake on Sunday wasn't catastrophic in the end, but it could have been. And in this environment, goalkeepers don't get many chances to redeem themselves. That said, he's earned a bit of credit. Since arriving, he's been one of the most reliable names on the team sheet. Calm under pressure, commanding in the box, and vocal when things get disorganized. He's shown leadership in a team that's been crying out for it. Everyone makes mistakes, and if there's any player in this squad who has the mental toughness to bounce back quickly, it's Butland. Roll seems to recognize that too, which is why he stood by him publicly and praised his influence beyond just shot-stopping. That kind of support from a manager might seem like a small detail, but it matters, especially in a squad where confidence has been fragile for far too long. One of the recurring issues under previous managers was a lack of clarity in communication. Players seemed uncertain of their roles, substitutions often felt reactive rather than planned, and the overall approach changed too frequently. With Roll, there's already a sense that things are being handled differently. His post-match interviews are honest, his tactical instructions are precise, and his comments about player development suggest a long-term vision that goes beyond just surviving the next game. Yousef Chumley's situation is a perfect example of that. He's had a tough start to life in Glasgow. The expectations were high when he arrived, and for a while it looked like he might fade into the background. But Roll hasn't written him off. Instead, he brought him on at the right moment, gave him a platform to make an impact, and now there's a goal beside his name. It might only be one goal, but for a striker who's been low on confidence, it's massive. And Roll knows it. That's why he called it a small step, not more. No overreaction, no unnecessary hype. Just a recognition that progress takes time and every little breakthrough counts. It's a message that applies to the entire squad. Because while the supporters want immediate success, the reality is that Rangers are in the middle of a rebuild, one that goes beyond just the first team. Recruitment has to improve. The structure behind the scenes needs to be smarter. And there needs to be a proper identity, one that's sustainable and suited to the modern game. Roll, despite his limited experience as a head coach, seems to understand that better than most. His background as an assistant at high-profile clubs gave him a taste of what elite environments require. Now he's trying to replicate that, bit by bit, in a very different kind of pressure cooker. The good news is, he's got some tools to work with. Players like Isgard bring something fresh to the team, not just in terms of quality, but in attitude. He's not a flashy name. He's not a big-money signing. But what he showed against Kilmarnock was that he's ready to work, ready to think, and ready to fight for the badge. That's the kind of mentality that needs to become the standard, not the exception. And if Roll can get others to follow that lead, then maybe this team can finally start to move in the right direction. But make no mistake, this is still a fragile squad. The psychological scars from the last few seasons are still there. The failures in Europe, the domestic slip-ups, the constant turnover in the dugout, it's left its mark. And while Sunday's result brought some temporary relief, the next setback could quickly drag everything back into darkness. That's why Roll's biggest challenge isn't tactical, it's emotional. He has to rewire the mindset inside the club. He has to convince the players and the fans that this isn't just another false dawn. That will only happen through consistency, not just in results, but in performances. Players need to know what's expected of them. Roles have to be clear. The game plan has to be adaptable but rooted in identity. And above all, there has to be accountability. Because too often in the past, players were allowed to drift through matches without consequences. That can't happen anymore. The standard at Rangers has to be higher. Every game, every minute. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers have been swirling through the corridors of Scottish football, and if the rumor mill's to be believed, it could be the biggest shake-up north of the border in years. Word on the street is that the owner of Newcastle United, already notorious for shaking up the Premier League with his deep pockets and relentless ambition, is eyeing a new playground, Rangers Football Club. The news, though still unconfirmed, has ignited a frenzy among supporters, pundits, and even rival clubs. Imagine the Govan Giants suddenly backed by the same oil-rich American money that transformed St. James Park into a European hotspot. It's the sort of development that makes you do a double take, but insiders claim there's more than a whisper of truth behind the chatter. Conversations in Glaswegian pubs and online fan forums are buzzing with speculation. What would it mean for the old firm rivalry? Could Celtic finally find themselves with serious competition again in terms of finances and transfers? Rangers, already a club steeped in tradition and success, would suddenly have access to unprecedented resources. Transfers that once seemed impossible might become reality, and the club's ambitions could stretch far beyond the Scottish Premiership. European nights at Ibrox could soon see a caliber of player and spectacle previously reserved for the continent's elite. But as with any rumor of this magnitude, skepticism runs high. Critics are quick to point out that football isn't just about money. Culture, history, and community loyalty play their part, and Rangers fans are notoriously protective of their club's identity. Yet, for the optimists, this is a dream scenario. With Newcastle's meteoric rise under their current owner, the idea that Rangers could follow a similar trajectory sparks excitement and anxiety in equal measure. Social media is alight with debates, memes, and, of course, the inevitable what-if threads. Could this be the start of a new era in Scottish football? Or is it just another rumor destined to fade into the ether? For now, fans are left to speculate. But one thing's certain. The mere suggestion of such a takeover has already stirred the Scottish football scene like never before. Keep your eyes peeled. If this goes through, the old firm will never be the same. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.